Hello class, let's check out how to install again your analysis tool pack on Excel. So first thing we have to do is to open up Excel. Once you're on the main screen or main spreadsheet, you go to tools, then select Excel add-ins, and then check mark on the analysis tool pack and then hit OK. Once you have that one, you may look like you don't have anything, but if you go to the data label or ribbon, you have here data analysis, and if you click on it, you have a lot of information here. You have the ANOVA that we're going to be learning a little bit about it later on. You have correlation, you have histograms, moving average, and regression, which is the one that we're going to be working the most frequently. Right now, let's hit a cancel because we won't be using it right now. And the first thing that I want you to see is, for example, what happens if we have x's and let's put what we have grades and hours of a study. So let's assume someone got 100 and studied just 20 hours. Someone else got an 80 and studied 15 hours. Then someone got a 60 and they spent 10 hours. And then we have another one with 60. This one had 15 hours. Another one with an 80. It was just 12 hours. And then someone, I don't like these numbers, but let's assume someone with a 40 and they studied 6 hours. And then we had a 90, which they studied 19 hours as well. And just leave it like that. So first thing we're going to be learning is how to make scatter plots. And scatter plots, as you have read on your textbook information, where you have to go is to insert. Here on the insert label, you have a lot of shapes and tools to produce diagrams. And in this part over here, we have this one where you have the small dots, and if you leave it over there, it says that you have XY scatter. And if you select it, as soon as you select it, you have something. And as you have seen, I did not select anything. Let me go back to it and just cancel it out. I was just putting over here, and as soon as you put insert and the scatter, it automatically selects the data that you're working with. One thing that I want you to check is how Excel automatically defines who is X and who is Y. So remember, this is your X axis, this is your Y axis, and in this case we have 40, 60, and 80, so the grades have become X and the hours have become the Y. But the truth is that the grades hours of the study do not depend on the grades. It's the other ways around. So one thing that you have to be super careful when working with Excel is that you have to always put X on the left side and Y on the right side. So Y should be always on the right. So always remember this part for Y. So the truth is that our grades over here should be posted. Let me put it with all N. Should be posted here. And all of this should be posted on this part. Normally you will see that if we have these changed out, this is Y and this is X, you will see me do something like cut it and paste it here. And then you have hours and grades the same way. So let's see the difference between these ones, and then let me erase this part. And once you make again your insert and the scatter, just like that, if you see it is selecting something the other way. So whenever some crazy stuff is happening to you like that, then what I recommend is that you select both of them. You select the data that you want to make a scatter for, and then once you select it, you hit insert and then select again the scatter, and then you have now the right graph where you have not the grades in terms of the hours, but the hours affecting the grades. And even though it may look very similar, you can see differences on the numbers of you're working on the export. Also, One part that we're going to be working right now is adding a trend line. And if you put your equation on the chart here, let me put it bigger. Let me make it bigger for you. But if you compare your equation, you're actually modeling two completely different things. And you can see it briefly and super fast with just this trend line. See how different the equations are? Because you were working or analyzing the data differently, especially because of the values of x that you're working in here. So the first thing you have to be careful with scatter plots is selecting your x and the y. Same happened to Minitab. And Minitab, you won't have to be putting the data. Minitab is a smarter technology, and the only thing you have to be careful is to select and identify who is affecting whom. So in this case, the number of the grades get affected by the number of hours that you have studied. And here we have seen that there is sort of a linear relationship, most of it, that we can predict over here. So for example, these ones, this is what we're going to be learning later on. So for example, if they tell you, what if a person, you already have that y is equal to 3.6965 of x plus 21.634. So what if they tell you that you have to fix, oh, sorry, I forget here that I have to put a 4 without. That's not as allowed. So normally with that 4, function 4, it will work, but right now, okay, I have it here, function 4. And you have fixed that number times the value of x, which is a value that we're going to be selecting on the hours, plus 21.64 again fixed. And in here you can say, okay, what if a person just studies 5 hours, which is the expected grade he or she should have? So if we go through this process, we will say that a person that, according to the behavior that we have seen here, on average, a person that spent 0 hours studying, it just means just attended the class, should be getting an average of 21.63 as a grade, on average. If they go and study 5 hours, they're expected to get a 40, similar to the one with 6. But if they study 10 hours, they should be getting a 58 in average. So the question in here is, which is the minimum amount of hours, for example, that they should study so they get a 70. So in this case, you can say, okay, so they need 14 hours of study so they can pass the class on average. This is the behavior that they are getting. This is not this is a descriptive, it is not a predictor, it's punctual prediction, is an average prediction. So this is telling you that an average person that on average studied 14 hours should expect to have, according to the behavior of the population, a 73 on average on their grade. So this is how we get estimations and work with this information, and we're going to be working with all of those later on. But right now what I want you to focus is identify your independent variable from the dependent variable.